Alright Retro fans, welcome to the complete walkthrough for Mickey Mouse and the Castle of Illusion, the beloved platformer released for the Sega Genesis in 1990. This classic adventure follows Mickey on his quest to rescue Minnie Mouse, who has been kidnapped by the wicked witch Mizrabel and taken to the mysterious Castle of Illusion. In this walkthrough, we will guide Mickey through 6 challenging levels filled with enemies, puzzles, and hidden treasures. Each area culminates in an epic boss battle that tests the skills learned throughout the stage. Let's dive into this magical journey and help Mickey save the day. The controls and gameplay mechanics. The control scheme for this classic adventure is refreshingly straightforward. Players use A or B buttons to hurl objects at enemies, while the C button handles all jumping actions. When standing on solid ground, pressing down will make the character duck into a defensive crouch. However, when airborne, pressing down executes the signature butt slam maneuver, a crucial combat technique that players should master early on, as most enemies can only be defeated by landing this attack directly on their heads. The power-up system follows an equally simple design philosophy. Diamonds scattered throughout each stage are worth 100 points each when collected. Stars provide an additional hit point to the player's health meter. Item bags contain 10 throwable objects, which vary depending on the current level. These might be apples in forest stages, marbles in toy-themed areas, or candles in castle environments. Individual objects found lying around are worth exactly 1 projectile when picked up. Combat revolves around 2 primary methods, either striking enemies with thrown objects or executing the butt slam technique by jumping and pressing down while directly above their heads. Boss encounters follow the same principles, though these powerful adversaries require multiple successful hits to defeat. Players should note that there's at least one 1-up hidden somewhere in the game, and additional lives can be earned through point accumulation. The adventure begins with 2 continues available. The status bar at the bottom of the screen provides essential information about the player's current condition. It displays the remaining life count, available objects in inventory, and the current score total. The health system operates using a simple but effective visual indicator. Each stage begins with 3 small red orbs representing maximum health. When damage is taken, 1 red orb transforms into a blue orb. If all red orbs are depleted, the player loses 1 life. However, completing any level with less than 3 orbs will automatically restore health to maximum, while finishing with more than 3 orbs allows players to carry that bonus health forward. Point accumulation comes from several sources throughout the adventure. Most enemies provide 200 points when defeated, though certain tougher foes are worth 300 points each. Collecting a star while at full health or grabbing an item bag when inventory is already maxed out yields a substantial 1000 point bonus. Finally, whenever players obtain one of the 7 gems required to complete the entire quest, they'll receive a clear technical bonus and secret bonus point awards. Level 1, the Haunted Forest. Stage 1. The opening stage introduces players to the game's primary enemy types: animated walking trees, aggressive mushrooms, and carnivorous plants. The plant enemies can be defeated using standard jumping attacks, but players must stay alert for the pollen projectiles they fire as defensive measures. Both trees and mushrooms fall to well-timed butt slam attacks, though caution is advised since some mushroom varieties can burrow underground and emerge unexpectedly. The upper section of this stage contains 10 apples that players should definitely utilize. There's no point bonus for hoarding unused objects, so don't hesitate to throw them at enemies. Did you know the game got a full remake in 2013? That's over 20 years later. Shows you how much staying power this little platformer had. Here's a tricky one for you classic gamers. What's the name of the evil witch that Mickey has to defeat to save Mickey Mouse? Bonus points if you can spell it correctly. slide down the steep ramp ahead, but beware of the giant apple that rolls down the same path. At the bottom, execute a quick jump to avoid being struck, then hurry towards the right exit before the rolling apple appears. Stage 3, the entire third stage takes place within an enormous spider web, creating a precarious environment where falling usually results in an instant death. Some leaf platforms move unpredictably, demanding careful observation and precise jumping timing from players. Spider enemies descend from above and can be defeated with butt slam attacks when they reach striking range. Time for some review score knowledge. Mean Machines gave Castle of Illusion an incredibly high score back in the day. Can you guess what percentage they awarded this Disney classic? The forest atmosphere shifts dramatically towards a dark and ominous mood in the final stage. Bat enemies make their first appearance here, representing a particularly troublesome threat in the upcoming areas where they dive aggressively at players. Ghost enemies provide an interesting tactical opportunity. While they cannot be permanently defeated, but slam attacks will temporarily stun them, allowing players to use them as improvised trampolines to reach bonus items or safely cross dangerous pits. In the cave section at the far right, defeat mushroom enemies using thrown objects rather than jumping attacks, as the narrow passages make butt slam positioning nearly impossible. Boss battle. The first boss encounter proves surprisingly manageable with proper technique. The boss initially rolls directly towards the player's position. Counter this by moving to the far left side of the arena and jumping over the rolling attack. After the boss crashes into the background tree, several acorns will fall from above. Position carefully between these falling projectiles to avoid damage, then quickly jump onto the temporarily stunned boss before it can resume rolling. Alternative strategies include pelting the boss with apples, though this method requires twice as many hits as compared to direct jumping attacks, a pattern that applies to all boss encounters throughout the game. Landing 5 successful butt slam attacks will defeat this boss and reward players with the red gem. The game's influence echoed through the years. When GameSpot looked back in 2010, they identified exactly what made it special. It wasn't just the levels, the music, the controls, and Mickey's superb animation all contributed to one of the very best Disney games that would heavily influence those to follow. Those of us who were there remember the excitement of discovering each new world, the satisfaction of mastering Mickey's bounce timing, the genuine challenge of facing Mizrabel in her tower. But here's the beautiful thing about truly great games. They don't just live in our memories. Now on to level 2, Toyland, Stage 1. This delightful stage ranks amongst the most enjoyable in the entire game. Players ascend a series of staircases while contending with toy soldier enemies that can be easily defeated with standard jumping attacks. Jack-in-the-Box enemies operate similarly. Wait for them to emerge from their containers, then jump on their heads, or simply ignore them entirely, since defeating every enemy isn't mandatory for stage completion. Exploration pays dividends here, as climbing side paths often lead to valuable bonuses. Some areas require bouncing off toy plane enemies to reach higher platforms with special items. The stage's crowning moment comes at the very top, where grabbing a special key transforms the entire level into a massive slide. Fun fact, there were actually 2 completely different versions of this game. The 16-bit Genesis version and the 8-bit Master System or Game Gear version had 2 totally different graphics, mechanics, and even featured different levels. It's basically like having 2 separate games with the same name. Back in 1990, something special truly happened in the world of video games. Can you believe it's been over 3 decades since Mickey Mouse first stepped foot into Castle of Illusion? Those were the times when Sega was hungry to prove themselves against Nintendo's dominance, and they did it with pure Disney magic. Race down the slide while collecting as many diamonds as possible, then proceed to the exit at the bottom. Here's a deep cut for the Sega Saturn fans out there. In 1998, Castle of Illusion was released in Japan as part of a special compilation. What was the name of this Sega Ages collection? Stage 2. Begin by moving right and bouncing upward using the springboard mechanism. Orange blocks obstruct progress and must be destroyed using marble projectiles. Exercise extreme caution to not exhaust the marble supply, as running out could trap players in an unwinnable situation requiring a complete game reset. Conservative marble usage is essential throughout this section. After clearing the blocks, head left to another springboard, then proceed right and downward past moving block obstacles while avoiding jack-in-the-box enemies. Near the stage's conclusion, encounter a clown enemy that fires projectiles outward. Jumping on this clown causes its unicycle to roll uncontrollably, potentially eliminating other enemies, but also posing a danger to careless players. The exit can be found in the top right corner. Special note: if players find themselves trapped in the jello substance, repeatedly press the jump button with desperate intensity, allowing the character's head to sink below the surface results in an immediate death. Here's something interesting. Entertainment Weekly ranked Castle of Illusion as the 19th greatest game available in 1991, calling it perfect for younger players, but challenging enough for adults. Talk about nailing that sweet spot. Stage 3. This bizarre stage requires traveling to the far right while navigating numerous toy soldiers and clown enemies. The unique mechanic here involves small arrow switches that completely flip the stage orientation, allowing players to walk on the ceiling. Activating each switch eliminates all enemies currently on the screen, making this a powerful tactical tool. One hidden secret awaits in the corridor packed with soldiers. Travel through the area above or below the main pathway, locate a false wall, and destroy the block behind it to claim a valuable star. Enemy bouncing techniques can help reach the elevated bonus items throughout this tipsy, topsy, curvy environment. The stage exit sits at the far right end. Did you know that critics were absolutely obsessed with this game when it came out? Mean Machines gave it a whopping 95% score, and Console XS went even higher with a whopping 96%. That's insane praise for the early 90s. Remember when game levels weren't just obscure courses, but actual places that you wanted to explore? The Castle of Illusion gave us 6 distinct worlds that felt lived in. The mysterious Enchanted Forest with its talking trees, Toyland with its oversized toys and whimsical dangers, and who could forget the Dessert Factory, a child's dream turned into platforming perfection. The boss battle. The second boss presents another relatively straightforward encounter. The massive clown machine begins by making 2 to 3 jumping movements, followed by an attempted punch attack. Counter the jumping phase by running underneath the machine, then duck low when it tries to punch. After this attack sequence, 4 springboards emerge from the arena floor. Use the springboard to bounce upward and strike the machine's head with a butt slam attack. After 5 successful hits, it will destroy this mechanical menace. Did you know that Mickey's signature move in this game is called a bounce attack? Instead of jumping on enemies, he literally bounces off of them like a rubber ball, which is honestly way more fun than it sounds. Tokuhiko Yuwabo and Shinigori Kamiya provided the musical foundation that still gets stuck in our heads decades later. These melodies weren't just background noise, they were part of the storytelling, helping each world feel distinct and magical. In 2017, Games Radar ranked Castle of Illusion on their Best Sega Genesis Mega Drive Games of All Time list. Can you guess what spot Mickey's Castle Adventure claimed? Let me know what you think. Level 3, Mountains and Temples. Stage 1. Success in this deceptively simple stage depends on following the correct path. Players who understand the route will find it remarkably easy, while those who don't may struggle endlessly. Start by moving right, dropping into the first hole, then head left through a concealed fake wall to discover diamonds and an item bag. Continue right while jumping over additional holes, dealing with or avoiding bat enemies, mushrooms, and the particularly annoying piranha fish. The wooden bridges collapse under the character's weight, so maintain steady movement across them. After crossing the second bridge, drop into the hole immediately below. Underwater sections present invincible fish enemies that cannot be defeated through normal means. Instead, locate the hole in the underwater floor. A current will automatically transport players to the stage exit. The solution really is that straightforward. Stage 2. This stage represents one of the game's most challenging sections, demanding absolute precision in jump timing and execution. The action takes place on an ancient Indian ruins where any fall results in immediate death with no checkpoint saves to provide safety nets. Navigate carefully towards the far right while contending with bad enemies and leaping piranhas. The most treacherous sections require running starts and perfectly timed jumps to clear large gaps. Overhead water torrents add another deadly hazard that must be avoided at all costs. The tiny platform sequence proves especially nerve-wracking, as players must land on minuscule surfaces with no room for error. Missing any jump means plunging into the lethal waters below. After the platforms expand to more manageable sizes, the exit finally comes into view. The players feel genuine relief upon reaching this sanctuary after enduring such a punishing trial. Stage 3. This cave environment challenges players to navigate rightward while avoiding a dangerous torrent of water that both inflicts damage and pushes the character backward. The key strategy involves waiting on safe platforms until the water level recedes, then quickly running to the next secure position before the torrent returns. Bad enemies add complexity, but don't significantly increase the difficulty. The stage design emphasizes patience over speed. Tackle one section at a time rather than rushing ahead recklessly. Fortunately, this stage's length remains relatively modest, preventing frustration from building too high. Can you guess how many gems Mickey needs to collect to take on the final boss? This one separates the casual players from the true fans. Let me know what you think below. Boss Battle. This boss encounter ranks amongst the game's most irritating challenges. A towering totem pole releases frogman enemies that hop around the arena while generating phantom duplicates of themselves. These phantoms shoot across the ground in unpredictable patterns, making them frustratingly difficult to target accurately. Defeating each frogman requires either a direct butt slam attack or a well-aimed marble hit. Successfully eliminating a frog causes it to crash into one section of the totem pole structure. Players must defeat 5 separate frogs to complete this lengthy and tedious boss battle. While Mickey Mouse got all the glory, let's take a moment to appreciate the talented team at Sega who brought this vision to life. Director Emiko Yamamoto didn't just oversee the Genesis version. She was instrumental in shaping Mickey's digital debut. In an industry where women developers often went unrecognized, Yamamoto's leadership helped create one of the most beloved Disney games ever made. Level 4. The Study Room. Stage 1. This brief introductory section requires moving right while avoiding jumping A-letter enemies and the common bookworm creatures. The stage concludes by entering a large milk bottle that serves as a portal to the next area. Stage 2. The visual design of this stage evokes memories of the cookie box level from World of Illusion, another Mickey Mouse adventure. Progress rightward while dodging the peculiar jumping red dolphins, perhaps the most unusual enemy choice in gaming history, and navigating collapsing bridge sections. Cupcake platforms provide stable footing that won't sink into the surrounding water. Falling into water doesn't cause death, but instead bounces players back to the surface while inflicting damage. After clearing the moving platform obstacles, collect the green gem. Notably, this level features no boss encounter. Castle of Illusion earned its place on the Sega Genesis Mini in 2019, introducing a whole new generation to its charms. The 2013 remake might have had shinier graphics, but sometimes you need to go back to the original to remember what made the magic so special in the first place. Stage 3. Acquiring the green gem causes the ceiling to disappear entirely, opening access to upper areas. Climb upward and swing across rope obstacles while ignoring the harmless toy planes. However, pay close attention to the collapsing floor sections on the opposite side. Bookworm enemies can be defeated by using standard jumping techniques. The sequence with 4 falling blocks requires precise timing. Avoid damage by positioning in the floor holes, ducking completely, then running past quickly when the books lift. Soon after, discover a teacup that can be entered for a bonus section. Teacup bonus. This optional area challenges players to collect diamonds while avoiding sugar cube obstacles. The second teacup stage substitutes apples for diamonds, but otherwise follows the same format. Participation is entirely voluntary and doesn't affect main progression. After exiting the first teacup, jump up and right onto the nearby ledge. Then make a potentially tricky leftward jump to reach the next platform. This maneuver may require several attempts to execute successfully. Climb upward, and at the summit, drop down while holding right to reach a standing apple item. The path to the right of the chain obstacles lead to a dead end, so instead, slide down the available ramp. A giant apple will chase the character boss battle. This encounter features perhaps the game's most delightfully absurd opponent, a gigantic candy dragon that emerges from the surrounding water. Position in the arena's center and watch carefully for the dragon's emergence location. If it appears in either of the 2 middle pits, immediately jump on its head for a successful attack. When the dragon emerges from the far left or right positions, it will either lunge directly at the player, requiring a jump to avoid, or execute a long overhead sweep attack. During the sweep, jump onto the dragon's head as it passes overhead. 6 successful head strikes will defeat this sugary serpent and complete the level. Let's test your platform knowledge. Castle of Illusion was eventually ported to 8-bit systems. Can you name both handheld and home console systems that got the smaller version? Level 5, Castle. Stage 1. Navigate rightward while contending with armored knight enemies that hurl axes and avoiding statue objects that attempt to club unweary players. Drop into the second hole to access branching paths. Heading right allows bouncing off a knight to reach elevated bonuses, while going left leads to falling block puzzles. The first falling block set requires running underneath quickly before they drop. Fun fact, this game was so influential that GameSpot said in 2010 it heavily influenced all the Disney games that came after it. Mickey's animation quality basically set the bar for every Disney platformer that followed. The second set has a specific save pattern. The second and fourth blocks never fall, so walk adjacent to the dropping blocks and run past when they raise up again. The final set's safe positions are on the second and third blocks. Reach the platform and drop down to continue. Proceed right past a rolling bowling ball obstacle. Avoid damage by crouching in one of the floor holes. Defeat 2 knights using candle projectiles, then climb the dropping platforms. Choose between going left for diamond collection or right across a ramp. Slide down the ramp and execute a crucial jump at the bottom. Failure to jump results in falling into purple acid that kills instantly. Here's one that might surprise you. Entertainment Weekly ranked Castle of Illusion on their list of greatest games available in 1991. What exact spot did Mickey's Adventure land on? Drop your guess in the comments. Continue jumping over additional acid pools, some of which have rising bubbles that indicate safe timing for passage. Mount the dropping platform at the far right, but jump off before reaching the bottom to avoid more deadly acid. The final challenge involves jumping over acid pools while riding dropping platforms. Upon reaching the Bridge of Skulls, success is assured. Head left to collect the indigo gem. Stage 2. This swimming section proves remarkably straightforward despite initial appearances. At the first junction, take the upper path. At the second junction, choose the bottom route. While it may seem impossible to outswim the pursuing fish enemies, maintaining steady forward movement will prove sufficient for safe passage. This wasn't just another licensed game thrown in to make a quick buck. This was Sega showing the world that they understood what made Disney special. The animation, the charm, the way Mickey moved with that characteristic waddle that we all knew and loved from the cartoons. This clock tower stage ranks amongst the most frustrating in the entire game. Players must climb vertically to the very top while navigating complex mechanical hazards. Yellow gears that aren't rotating will drop unexpectedly, while spinning gears move the character in the rotational direction. Small platforms swing around wheel mechanisms, and at one critical point, crossing a swinging pendulum becomes necessary. Running pistons pose an additional crushing hazard throughout the ascent. The predominantly vertical design means any fall could send players plummeting back to the very beginning. Numerous bat enemies add further complications to an already challenging climb. The artistic vision came from a dedicated team, including Takashi Yuda and Mikarin Nishida, who somehow managed to capture Disney's animation magic within the technical constraints of the 16-bit hardware. Every frame of Mickey's movement, every background detail in the Enchanted Forest, these weren't accidents, but carefully crafted pixels that told a story. Here's a cool bit of trivia. The evil witch Mizrabel doesn't just want to defeat Mickey, she's specifically trying to steal Minnie's youth and beauty. That's some seriously dark motivation for what looks like this cute Disney platformer. The boss battle. This boss initially appears impossible to defeat, as direct attack attempts result in the boss raising a defensive hand to block all damage. The solution requires a more subtle approach. Walk close enough to make the boss grin and attempt a whip attack. Jump to avoid the whip strike, then land directly on the exposed head during the recovery animation. The boss occasionally jumps as well, requiring additional timing adjustments. Approximately 8 successful hits will complete this tricky encounter and advance to the final confrontation. Remember when platform games weren't just about running and jumping, but about bouncing? Castle of Illusion introduced us to Mickey's signature move, that delightful bounce attack that felt so uniquely Disney. No punching, no weapons, just Mickey's natural buoyancy, bringing enemies down with style. It was innovative for its time, a non-violent approach that still felt engaging and satisfying. Fun fact: Castle of Illusion was actually Mickey Mouse's debut on the Sega Genesis back in 1990. Pretty wild that Disney's biggest mascot ended up on Sega's console before appearing on Nintendo systems, right? The final battle. With all 7 gems collected, the ultimate challenge awaits players in the form of the final boss encounter, Mizrabel. The atmospheric black clouds swirling in the background create an appropriately ominous setting for this climatic battle. Mizrabel's primary attack involves surrounding herself with 8 ghost projectiles, rendering her completely invincible during this phase. Players must patiently dodge the circling ghosts until they disperse, then quickly strike Mizrabel's head before she teleports to a new location. Her teleportation ability creates significant tactical challenges. When positioned at the room's top, she becomes impossible to reach with attacks. Side ledge positioning allows potential hits by standing on the opposite upper ledge and jumping across after she releases the ghosts, though this strategy often fails due to timing constraints. The most favorable scenario occurs when Mizrabel teleports to the arena's bottom level. From an upper ledge, players can drop down after the ghosts disperse and land successful head strikes before the next teleportation. This battle contains substantial luck elements, so maintaining patience while avoiding unnecessary risks proves essential. 6 successful hits will conclude both the battle and the entire adventure. Players can then relax and enjoy the well-earned ending sequence after completing this challenging quest. Victory leads to the game's satisfying ending sequence, where Mickey and Minnie are finally reunited. Congratulations on completing Mickey Mouse and the Castle of Illusion. This classic platformer offers a perfect blend of challenging gameplay, charming characters, and memorable boss encounters. The game rewards exploration and skill development while providing an engaging adventure from start to finish. Whether experienced as a nostalgic journey or discovered for the first time, the Castle of Illusion stands as a testament to quality game design and timeless entertainment. Mickey's quest to save Minnie delivers excitement, challenge, and satisfaction in equal measure, making it a worthy addition to any gaming library. I'm the Retro Kingpin. Thanks for watching.